Hey, beautiful people out there in YouTube land, how's it going? We got this here pandemic going on. We got to do for me and mine. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. Anywho, um, you know, control the lighting. I don't have a makeup crew straightening out this stuff. So, anyways, yeah, I got called out on my last video. Sometimes I go intuitive, full intuitive, and just say stuff that can't be proven. No experiments like ice. Ice actually releases dissolved oxygen, which in theory, you think it would. It freezes, it cracks, it gets crushed. But things I couldn't prove. But anyways, I'm the author of a management style called Misinformation Management. I was a supervisor for 20, 30 years. Anyways, in the power industry. So I would purposely go out and say things wrong, and to my help, to my workers, to my crew, and every once in a while, they taken delight to prove me wrong, so they would go out and do the work out in the field, out in the power plant, and hit the books, do a lot of research and everything to prove me wrong. So in essence, I'd sacrifice my ego, as a methodology of getting some work done. So it worked out pretty good for a while until I left the industry. So I was going to write a book up about it, but anyways, I do that in the videos sometimes, not on purpose, but sometimes I get called out, and I get called up. I got some smart guys watching my videos, so got to be careful. But anyways. Through all this pain and suffering, I come up with a better theory on how the oxygen gets liberated out of the ocean, and it's through vapor. And as the salinity rises in the ocean, when we do go into the ice age, the the oceans drop, end up on the poles. The salinity itself retains less and less dissolved oxygen. So right now, the oceans hold 20% less oxygen than, say, fresh water. That's a fact. So, in essence, as we go into a lowering ocean condition, going back into the ice ages, oxygen will be forced out as the salinity levels get higher. So, anyways, with that, we're going to cruise right along. Get this video going. Solved. How the Earth's oceans, how Earth makes giants. Was Noah one of the giants that God saved in the Bible? Right? Think about it. Think about it. You better think. You better recognize. These giants are all over the planet. 30 footers. Some as tall as 50 feet. I think even taller. But up in Russia, India, they're in the Middle East, they're South America, Central America, the Americas. A couple of towns over, we had some 12 and 15 foot redhead double row, giants in the back in the mid 1900s. The Smithsonian came around to all the towns that basically were cataloged these giants and kept them there. They were they're just stored, and there's pictures, there's newspaper articles, so they can't wish and will this stuff away. So anyway, long story short, what the Smithsonian did was, the theory is that they went around the whole country, grabbed all these giant, skeletal remains, because it wasn't in line with the paradigm, the narrative. So. I guess they consolidated the whole collection throughout the whole country and into Washington. Then they ended up on a boat, and then they tossed them overboard. Whether or not it's true or not, I don't know. But hopefully they've got it in the storehouse somewhere in boxes, and they got the DNA and all that stuff. I'd hate to think that's what it comes. This is what the level of science is. Anyways, we're gonna get into and make these giants friendly. They're not aliens, they're us, because the oxygen levels go up on the planet, and anything that's subjected to a higher percentage of oxygen grows bigger. Okay, grows bigger, and it also has more energy. All right, so you could have giants picking up like stones in Baalbek, making the pyramids by hand. You know, cutting the stone. You know, you get a crew of 30. I got a couple of hundred giants, 20 to 30 feet high. They can move those stones around like they're nothing. You know, so cut them. Whether or not they could do it in 20 years, that's still debatable. But you know, it just makes a lot more sense. You know, it makes a lot more sense before the flood. It's all about the flood, people. Going back to the flood. I'm just going to buzz through these giants. There's some great pictures. I mean, that guy's huge. Look at that. He's probably a 100-footer. This guy's got you know, just pulled this dude out of the ground. He looks like he might be like the guys that we found out here in the Berkshires. You know, 15, 20-footer. Or a 12-footer. Obviously, that's a big skull there. Like I said, they're all over the planet. It's not a secret, you know, except for mainstream. It's a secret, but you know, this is real stuff, and real people have got these things. That's a big head. Anyways, you know, so there are giants. I mean, they're out there. It's not photoshopped. I mean, granted, some stuff's photoshopped, whatever, but. You know, it just, there's so much evidence, it's overwhelming now, you know. Alright, so here we go. Oxygen content on Earth changes during the Ice Age and Water Age. Oxygen percentages in the atmosphere controls how big species grow. In the Ice Age, oceans vaporize and release the dissolved oxygen and trapped oxygen into the atmosphere, thus causing the Earth's atmosphere oxygen to increase. The reciprocal happens in the interglacial period when the polar ice caps melt, which we're in the interglacial period. And it melts and flows back into the world's oceans, and the oxygen gets reabsorbed back into the water. And the Earth's atmosphere oxygen percentages drop, causing life forms to grow smaller and smaller. Okay, so we're in a smaller and smaller way. You know, each you know, maybe 100 years, people are getting smaller and smaller. Or even generation, right? The higher salinity levels get, the more, the higher salinity levels get, the more dissolved oxygen gets released into the atmosphere. Fact, right now, salt water has 20% less dissolved oxygen than, say, fresh water. Okay? Alright, so cruising right along like a herd of turtles. Here's a picture of the land mass with the lower water levels in the Ice Age. Some people theorize this is where Atlantis is, not above the water. The next slide I show you, you can see you know, there's a lot more land on the eastern seaboard, around you know, around the all the land masses, continents. Greenland's connected to the U.S. You know, it's just a larger islands. These are all connected here. You don't have to go through the what do you call it, the tunnel down there between France and England. You can just walk over, drive over. So here's another one. You can see right here, this is the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, the Gulf of Mexico is a trapped inland sea right now. And right here they theorize this might be where Atlantis was, right out on the mid-ocean ridge. There's a lot of land mass there. So anyways, it's nice to be able to say Atlantis, you know. 20 years ago you couldn't say that. You were, you know, said Atlantis, you were like a moon bat. So we are making progress, people. Here's this is the high flood stage right here. This is the water age we're right in now, right here. We're melting all the ice caps and the water's coming up higher and higher. One of the guys made a comment, said he could see his house, the land where his house was, so he's all set. I think I might be all set because this is the Appalachian Mountains. I'm not 100% sure though. I could be wrong. Anyways, long story short, who knows? I got a canoe outside, anyways. So this is where we're going to right now. We're going to the high water mark, right? And this is, you know, the higher the water gets, the more the drag of the moon and the Earth has, and that controls the tilt. And eventually the tilt goes back down to, so we're at 23 and a half, we get back down to like 19, 17. There's a lot of different tilts on the Earth I discovered up on the face of the moon, but it's another video altogether. This is a reason that these creatures, dinosaur age, prehistoric creatures actually came. There was a higher oxygen content on the Earth, and they theorized it was the plants. Also, potentially there was no. There was it might have been that they had ice caps, and it's just, they had a nice warm belt there where there was, you know, um, uh, tropical places on the planet, or it could have just been a totally different planet altogether without all the water. Maybe the water was under the plates, and they didn't have that much, but they had the oxygen due to plant life. A lot of theories there. It's like a typical ant, over 6 foot tall, but don't worry about it, because if the ants are getting this big, we'll be 30 feet tall, so they'll be still getting stepped on if there's sidewalks around. Good representation of a dragonfly. And this is a crustacean of a dragonfly. It's like 100 times bigger, if not bigger than that. Let's see. Anthropods would evolve to the same larger in the Paleozoic era, when the oxygen levels were higher than today. Giant insects roamed the Earth's surface. Most of the other animals and plants would evolve in response of this. Some of these evolutions would be problematic, others won't. The humans are no exception, and a race of giants may have evolved. Not may, they did. The skeletal remains are all over the place. There was someplace up in Russia, one of the big frozen lakes there, they had, what do you call it? There's somebody walking outside with a flashlight now. That must be my fan club. Anyways, long story short, we had this going on, and to find a lot of people with more than 2 meters in height, or more than 2 meters in height, they were like 10 meters in height. Okay. Fires will burn much more, as explained by Tim B. Thank you, Tim. Half of the world's oxygen is produced via photosynthesis. The other half is produced via photosynthesis on land, trees, shrubs, gases, and other plants. Mature forest has, for example, takes in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere during photosynthesis and converts it to oxygen to support new growth. Why did the Earth's oxygen levels increase? Oxygen levels are generally thought to have increased dramatically about 2.3 billion years ago. Photosynthesis by ancient bacteria may have produced oxygen before this time. In addition, early plants and algae began to release oxygen at a fast rate. Well, they're missing a big thing here. When the oxygen levels go, when the oceans go higher, there's less oxygen in the atmosphere. When the oceans drop, it releases more oxygen. That's one thing they haven't picked up on yet. Thank you very much. I'm just here to point out the obvious. You're welcome. There's a crazy picture here. Some people think it was Photoshop, but I don't know what this guy is. But who knows? Maybe, it's just a big head, big head, big skull design, elongated skull design. Last glacial maximum 18,000 years ago. So you get, superimposed the ice. Obviously, it's like you got the white outlines of what the true land masses look like right now, and where it is with the lower oceans. So you could walk right down from, and you go Indonesia. As India, you can walk right down to Australia. So, again, point being, it's the oceans, people. It's the oceans that change the oxygen levels on the planet. All right, here we're going to get into the axial atmosphere, degassing, aeration. It's just a process, that happens naturally. Oxygen's solubility ability in fresh water versus salinity. Okay, and then you get, it's just graphs that show you the difference in oxygen compared to seawater and fresh water. So here again, you got another chart showing the same thing. And that's it. It's just that's as simple as it gets. These are other gases, methane, CO2, other methane, temperatures, Celsius. There's the oxygen content right there. And that's all. This is the year. You know, it just goes up and down, up and down, up and down. You know, the normal weather forecast, normal weather on the planet is basically ice age. 104,000 years of ice age, 13,000 some odd years of interglacial period, which we're at the end of right now, getting to the end. So this is the dissolved oxygen. This is the depth in the ocean. So that the deeper you go, the less oxygen you have. Okay, and yeah, so that's that. Just putting some dissolved oxygen. Basically, it's, you know, the higher the ocean, the higher the lower. You get the less oxygen down low, more oxygen at the surface. It's just a wave action. You know, you go down the ocean, there's splashing. You get the aeration going on. You have ocean currents, conveyor belts. There's fresh water, there's seawater, it's more denser. And this is a typical iceberg. You know, if this iceberg was actually part of a glacier that had a mile of ice above it, it's much more denser, so it's not going to float as much on the surface of the ocean. It'll sink. We got into a big discussion online there, which nobody's done yet, is put water, an ice cube tray of water in 30 inches of vacuum, keep it there, freeze it, take it out, and then put it in a cup of water and see if it sinks to the bottom of the water, you know, because you know, you've removed all the gases under 30 inches of vacuum, and it's dense. The water's denser than the actual water that has dissolved oxygen into it. We probably could do that. I used to work with vacuums and defense contractors and making gyroscope parts for MX missiles and a bunch of other stuff I shouldn't be talking about. But anyways, getting to my man, Noah, out there making it happen. This boat is enormous, right? Let's see, as God said, make thee an ark of gopher wood, room shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch in it with pitch. 15, and this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, and the breadth shall be 50 cubits, and the height 30 cubits. All right, so this is a comparison of the ark. 515 feet long, 882 feet, comparing to the Titanic. It's a big boat. There's more evidence that God, in his wisdom, did save some of the giants, right? Because I think Noah must have been a giant. If you look at these, enormous sizes, you know. So what we got? 450 feet of length, 75 feet width, gopher wood. These are all the people. You can look at, just pause the video, take a look at it. And God said to Noah, the end of the flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and behold, I will destroy them with the earth. All right. I don't know if God's not dealing with this stuff. It's just part of the part of the story, I guess. You know, no one's going to pay any attention if if there isn't somebody suffering, right? So anyway, long story short, it's just the big, huge changes that this planet goes through. All right, okay. Here's the people. Here's the ark floating. You know, the big flood. This is when all the ice caps melted, a very fast way, and for the most part, people just washed out to sea, except for Noah and his homies inside the ark. The end. All right, let's kick it into high gear. What else can I tell you? I think that's about it. I think I covered everything. So basically, you know, the oxygen content goes up and down on the ocean's water level, and that's a big thing. That's a huge thing. So with the flood coming in, there could have been like inland seas that hadn't made it to the ocean, and then once like that melts its way to the ocean, it just dumps 1 trillion gallons of water and goes up 100 feet over, within 24 hours. Talking all hell breaking loose, right? So that's kind of what's going on. Anyways, John Shaughnessy here at your service. We're going to get through this, and it's quite possible that, Noah was a giant. If you look at that ship he was told to build, now if you had a 30-foot guy, he could pull it off, or a 40 or 50-foot guy, he could pull it off. So, and there was, the